Hello, and welcome to the podcast, So Casted. I am your host, Tara Lockett. Today, we're going to talk about the 7 love bugs. Actually, we're going to talk about the first one. And from here on out, we're going to break down all 7 of those love bugs. If you can look around, you can see the love bugs around me. So I have bugs everywhere. But before I do that, I want to cover the topics that we've talked about up until this point for season 2, and the introduction, which was the uncovered cycles, the unconscious uncovered, episode 1, inside looking out, episode 2, coming out of the cave, episode 3, not fitting in, episode 4, and episode 5, breaking the marks of mental slavery. Love bug breakdown. We are going to discuss value, foundation, new beginning, hope, ethics, and new beginning earth angels, as well as capability. But before I get into that, as always, I want to remind you that the website is up. You can go to www.socasted.com, and on that website, you can currently look for the blog, and we're breaking down episodes. So if you're missing something while you're listening to it and watching, you can always go to that website and check out the blog. You could also catch the episode titles. If you can't reach it on YouTube, go straight to that website, and then you can find all of the podcast episodes. Now, I want to remind you of the quote from Mr. Lao Tzu. We have been consistent with that. And Mr. Lao Tzu is a 5th century ancient Chinese philosopher. 5th century BC ancient Chinese philosopher. And he states, "Be attentive to your thoughts. They are the beginning of action." And we know that we can put words into things, but if we don't put action into it, nothing happens. And so we have to be attentive to our thoughts. Record what you're thinking, and that you can find the problem of what's going on with you in your mind. If you're thinking constantly in your mind about things that's happened to you, as I did, and I had to go through the process of cleaning out our mind. There's nothing wrong with doing inventory in our minds. It is important for not only just our health, but it is important for us to be able to put the correct action to what we're thinking. Now, let's get into that episode. Today, we are going to talk about the love bug, value. Now, we have discussed this in the 13th episode of season 1, but I thought, you know what? We didn't go too far in depth. Now, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it, but I do want to bring light to the love bug value. Now, what is value anyway? We put value on so many different things in life. We value cars. We value money. We value our computer, our phones. But what about the value of humanity? What about the value of our mind? What about the value of our heart? And what about the value of actions? It is important for us to do those things. Why? Because we are in the process of healing our mind. And in the process of healing our mind, we have to what? Confront the problem, right? We have to not only confront that problem, but now we have to challenge ourselves with confronting that problem, but we're doing it in wisdom. And then after we do all those things, then we get to break that cycle. Now, I know a lot of us aren't interested in the process of it, but we also have to value that too. We have to value that process, because if we don't value that process will catch up to us. We can shove it under the rug. We could put it on the back burner. But guess what? In the meantime, while all of those things are adding up under the rug and on the back burner, it's just simply simmering. It's like a crock pot. Once it's nice and tender, everything comes to fruition. But why not take advantage of healing our minds? Why not take advantage, like it says, be attentive to our thoughts? It's an inventory of our thoughts, but it's important for us to be attentive to them. Why? Because it's the beginning of action. As much as we don't want to believe that our thoughts create our problems, it's the truth. Because our mind is the key to unlocking our healing. Remember, we're healing our mind, we're freeing our hearts, and we're activating change. What does that activation mean? That means taking the step that is difficult to take. Now, you even have to put value on that. You have to value the fact that you're willing to take that step. For me, I had to take that step, and I'll tell you, it was a difficult step, and I'll tell you why. Up until that point of 52, I think it was, that I went into counseling, I thought I valued everything I was supposed to value. But there was one thing missing: valuing my mind, valuing my heart, valuing my emotions, valuing my feelings, and then activation, putting something to it. And that putting something to it meant taking the steps that was necessary and needed for me to get that ball rolling. Now, I guarantee you, once you get the ball rolling, there's a lot that's going to come out. It's kind of like flushing out your system. But I guarantee you it's worth it. It was worth it for me. The difficult thing for me is when I went into the heart group, which is healing emotional and relational trauma. One of the things that I had to conquer was the thought in my mind that, oh, you're too old, it's too late for you, there's no hope for you. You know, those kind of conversations that go on in your mind, right? So I had to take that big step. And the big step was putting those thoughts behind me and saying, no, I value who I am. And humanity, we have to put a higher value on humanity and human life than we do with money and cars and the possessions, because the truth is, and I've seen this time and time again, when we pass, when we leave this life, we don't take anything with us. You know, people can put things in the casket and things like that, but the truth is, material things, we put so much value on those things, and we put more value on the material things than we do humanity. And we have to stop and think about that. We have to stop and think about what is really valuable. And human life is very valuable, but it's in value if it's not functioning in a healed mind, a free heart, and change that's so needed in our society today. So in other words, being attentive to our thoughts, they are the beginning of action, according to Mr. Lao Tzu. That says a lot. This is a ancient Chinese BC philosopher, and he's telling us that we must be attentive to our thoughts. Now, it's interesting because even in my process of healing, I didn't pay attention. I just allowed my mind to just wander. It's kind of like Billie Holiday when she says, "Good morning, heartache. Here we go again." Who's taking control in that? Who is taking control in that mind? The mind is out of control. And so it's important for us to understand, what is that value? Well, our minds matter. Our hearts matter. Our souls matter. And as I shared in the previous episode, when you put your mind, your body, and your soul, then comes that spirit, right? Because we're made up of all of it. And then comes the actions. And so I just kind of wanted to come through, break these things down. We're going to talk next about foundation, and I'm super excited to break these down and talk a little more in depth. Now, when you talk about value, you can talk about a lot. I value my peace. I do value relationships. And so if that relationship is unhealthy, you have to understand that you value yourself more than that. And putting those thoughts and bringing attentiveness to our thoughts helps us understand. The thing about thoughts is this: no one knows what you're thinking until you speak it and until you do it. And so why not speak the language of growth and change? Remember, we are confronting, challenging, and we're breaking the mental cycle that we've been birthed into. And why not free our minds? Why not free our hearts? Why not free ourselves to activate the change that's needed? I want to thank you so much for listening and watching. Again, you are on the podcast So Casted. I am your host, Tara Lockett. And remember to be attentive to your thoughts because they are the beginning of action. And remember the love bug value. You are value. You are human. And why do I share this? I share it because your mind matters. And guess what? It's the vision of our future.